Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. JGO here. What it is, Bumbo. So, I got some interesting stories to tell. So, we're here with the 4th episode of Trials and Tribulations on What's What Pod by JGO. If you guys are jumping in, yes, this is the 4th episode. So, again, I want to rewind and tell you guys, you need to go back. You need to understand the dry run. That was when the person behind the lens here, Polycarpfilms, a brother of mine, showed us about lighting, showed us about sound, etc. He's a skillful man. And we did this dry run. I was teasing about the chairs. The leather does make like a lot of noise. So don't judge me about that. Woo! I don't know why I'm nervous, but I am nervous because today's episode will be quite deep. And the dry run was done. The first episode was Who Am I? So I explained about who I am, where I am in life, etc. How I became who I am, of course, conditioning, all that jazz. Second episode was the heart. So heart with basically what the heart does. Self-explanatory, but it's deeper. There's a lot more. And then the third episode was about attitude. So coming in with the right attitude, Trials and Tribulations is more based on where I am in life, what I've gone through, and hopefully having some direction on where I'm going. I can't share everything about my future plans, but there's a lot that's happening. So welcome back, Trials and Tribulations, episode 4 on What's What Pod by JGO. In between this, I want to tell you guys how Trials and Tribulations work, man. You won't believe that I'm retaking this episode. Why am I filling you in about this? On the 1st of May, we recorded, we were done. This same shirt that I'm wearing, I wore it that day. Why am I wearing it again? Is because I own it. I really like it. And I'm owning this episode. I'm owning this podcast. I'm owning the community that I am in a sense of not me being above everyone or thinking that, no, but owning that I come from somewhere. And these trials and tribulations are things that I'm owning because it's me taking accountability. It's deep. So in between that time, before the 1st of May, I started journaling. So Trials and Tribulations, I wrote it in this book. Part of it was just because I loved the book. I really like it. It shows architectural designs, etc. And it spoke to me in a sense that I really like it. So I want to read what it says. It says, I have no doubt that time can distinguish between good and bad. Honestly, that spoke volumes to me because it is the truth. Time really does feel like an illusion sometimes. And before I start off with what this episode entails, obviously it's a journey about my life, where I am. And people might see it to say, what is this guy's journey? Why is he spilling so much information about himself? The reason that I'm doing it is because I've gone through it and it has been my journey. But I'm sharing because there could be someone else that's also in the shadows that doesn't know how to speak. Maybe there's something relatable. It's the fact that you're not alone. I've gone through weaknesses and I'm using my weaknesses as my own strengths. These strengths that I'm trying to help other people. It doesn't mean that because I said I wanted to be famous that I've lost track of all sight of what I want to do. No, I want to be impactful. I want to be remembered. I want to add value where someone else wouldn't see it. And also let them know that it's okay and it's your journey. I could be 10 steps ahead, but if this helps you, guide you, then I think I've done something right. And that will help me sleep at night as well. So I made this group for accountability with someone that is special, someone that's related to me on different levels as well. And there's people behind it that have also sort of shared the same thoughts and sentiments. So I want to read this. A letter of permission. Dear one, you have carried more than you share for too long. I know you learned early to become the strong one, the wise one, the steady one. Even when your bones were still growing, even when your heart was still soft with dreams, I know you tried. I know how tired you felt, standing among relatives who never saw you clearly, how invisible you became, even as you carried so much. I'm here to tell you, you are allowed to put the sword down now. You do not have to hold the entire world together. You do not have to be the bridge between people who broke their own foundations. You do not have to stay loyal to roles that were never yours to begin with. You are allowed to choose your own peace, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. You are allowed to love your chosen family, those who see you, who nourish you, who remind you who you are, and not feel guilty for it. You are allowed to walk away from expectations that were heavy from the moment they were placed on your small shoulders. You are allowed to grieve what you lost, even if others tell you it wasn't supposed to hurt. You are allowed to rewrite your story without asking for anyone's blessing but your own. You do not have to earn rest. You do not need to prove yourself worthy of ease, joy, or belonging. You were never wrong for wanting to run. You were never wrong for seeking air where the walls were too tight. You were never wrong for yearning for more. And even now, even after everything, you are still allowed to become someone new. With the deepest knowing, the voice you thought you had to silence. It's so beautiful because I always say, filter what you must. There's a lot that people go through, a lot that people don't wish to share, and that ends up causing us to run away, to shy away, to hide into this tough and heavy shell, yet sometimes we actually want to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, but we're so comfortable in our comfort zone that we lose sight of the unknown by not being able to take a risk, the unknown by not really being present in the present, falling back in the past so heavily that we lose sight of what could be good in the future. So I'm going to share my trials and tribulations of what has transpired in my life to bring me to where I am, to want to be better for myself, to then be better for others. So in my journal, and if you go back to episode 1, knowing who I am, this journal was just basically points and things that I want to work on. So the first thing was read, which I just did. And then now it's going on to my thoughts about my trials and tribulations. So on the 1st of May, I sang. And when I sang, it was related to 2 characters in my life, being my brother and my father. So the song that I sang for my brother was Rewind by Craig David, Awful Dodger, if I pronounce it correctly. So it was a tune that used to go, re-d-d-wind. So if you guys know that tune, I want to sing it, but anyways, if he's watching, he definitely gets it. And why I'm saying this is, when Craig David was doing his music and everything, man, I loved garage so much that it was so amazing. And I was like, my brother is like such a top lad. He's a fantastic guy. He's always in with the tunes. He loves different type of music. And as I was growing up, there was different genres that we'd listen to. And I ended up becoming an old soul. And why I say old soul is, when we had trips going to the lake, which is Mangochi in Malawi, closer to Blantyre, of course, my parents always used to play golden oldies, UB40s, Barry White, etc. But for me, the one that resonated for this episode was from the Eagles, which was New Kid in Town. And the lyrics, when you listen to that, it just shows you how life goes when you're relevant, when you're not, because it's like, okay, new kid in town. And then people start talking about you behind your back, things like that. There's so much in those lyrics that I was like, wow, Maybe for now I might have the hype, people questioning, he has a podcast, what's happening? Has he lost the plot? Is he okay? Is his mental health in the right gears? Is it a cry for help? And there's so much judgment that comes from it. But then there's also good, because one thing I'll always say, this analogy that I've learned, light. I now believe in 3 things as well, and one of them being light. And I always think of the moon, the stars, and the sun. Now, when you look at light, think of a light bulb. Even now in this room, there's a light ring here, okay? If I'm closer to this light ring, I can see the light, yes, but I can't really see how bright it is. Think of that as yourself. Those people that are always closest to you don't really see your potential, don't really see your value, but you're shining, they do see it. But those that are extended from you, from the outside, can see how bright that light is. Now, as those people draw closer to you because of your potential, the people closer here start being able to stand on this side and look and see, okay, wow, that's actually very interesting. So I digress. I'm speaking about light, and that's where I am. I'm looking at myself to say, I want to shine light for others. And that's why I'm doing this journey in my podcast. It's difficult. I'm being vulnerable and I'm sharing. I'm trying to give the right attitude to change mindsets, to think differently. But I'm doing it from passion because I care. I've always been like that. And growing up, now I like saying anyways, another acronym I love, which means anyways, let's keep pushing. Authentically navigating your way, aligning your strengths. So when people are like, anyways, change that attitude to be positive. Just be like, anyways, let's keep pushing. So authentically do it. Be yourself and align your strengths. You know your strengths, so do it as best as you can. So I spoke about my adoption. Yep, that was tough. My childhood was very interesting. And I went to a nursery school which was by Mrs. Wirimas, if I can remember correctly. And I remember being in center of town. This was where there was also a family doctor that we used to go to when I was growing up called Dr. Tejbal. I think that was where the school was, or close to it. I can't remember necessarily. Then it moved across. I think there's a church there now in Blantyre. And it's just like I remember so many different memories of how life was, how things were so simple. And when you're at your core of your childhood, your creativity is amazing. So with that creativity, as you grow up, you sort of lose that. And I remember watching this in one of the podcasts recently from someone else, where when you concentrate so much on the past, you end up being reminded so much of, we used to. And then you linger in that and you forget. When you're a child, you're so creative because you're just looking, forward. You don't have much of a past to really think on. So sometimes don't lose track of that creativity. So I grew up, I went to South End Primary, spent my whole life in South End, to be honest, for primary, secondary. And when I mentioned about trials and tribulations, I didn't know. And parents make so many different sacrifices that we're unaware of. And things were tough. I remember being kicked out of school because of school fees. So it wasn't necessarily kicked out, but you get your warnings, you get told, can you sort this out? And it's very difficult to go back. And I remember that time we were going through a financial crisis. And when that happened, I had to go back a term. So I was in Form 5, I wrote my mock exams. My results weren't as great, but when I went back a term, I managed to study more focused because I knew how much was being sacrificed. My late aunt was the one who paid my school fees for that period, for my exams, etc. And I passed really well. So I left school, obviously graduated, blessings on that, had my IGCSE results. And that was as far as it went for my studies, yeah? So again, I had to learn how to hustle, etc. during the holiday periods, things like that. And as we got to that, it was very interesting because I went to an interview which happened by a referral. I needed to work, etc. So much was happening in my life at that time. And I started working from the age of 16. Literally went for an interview, said, when can you start? Next day. And that's when I fell in love with the industry for freight. So I'm going into the next page just to see sort of the events that I had written down and stuff. And on the 1st of May, I did say a lot, but I feel like, yes, I will share it in bits and pieces, but I want to share the main events that actually changed my life. So I started working. Mind you, I didn't know that I was adopted until I was 18. So now this is where life gets crazy. So obviously 16, I worked for 2 years, continued with the same company. When I learned about my adoption, man, I crashed. So it was very difficult to deal with. I looked down, of course, because some of it does still linger sometimes because I deal with acceptance. And mental health, when we look at the literacy of it, I was in a seminar actually yesterday, a webinar, sorry. And we were speaking about mental health literacy. And in that, there was literally talks about same physical health and mental health. Everyone has a good day and bad day. The bad part is sometimes it's overwhelming that you can't deal with, but it doesn't mean that it'll last forever. So some days I have off days, I'm human. Some days I have really good days. So imagine from the 1st of May, today is the 22nd of May. It's been some time, but we're recording. There's a lot that's happened in between it, and I'm so happy because I've been reflecting and growing and still coming together to give more details. So anyways, I learned about my adoption, work started getting hectic, I wasn't showing up, I started drinking more, my addictions were getting bad, so I've done it all, drugs, booze, etc. It was a very difficult phase of acceptance for me, and I didn't know who to be angry with because I knew my family loved me. I knew that people wanted good for me, but I was rebelling because I didn't know how to express it. And the funny thing is, because I was working, I had to now get financially stable or at least earn for myself to do the things that I wanted to do. It just didn't make sense. So I thought the best solution would be to numb the pain. And then it reached a point where I got so drunk one night, I ended up jumping in a taxi. Jumped in a taxi, all I remember was being completely out of it. I remember I asked the taxi driver to stop. I opened the door, threw up, unfortunately, and when I hit my head back like this, that was it. No memories whatsoever. I wake up at an elderly family's house the next morning. My brother is fuming. He's picked me up. We're going home. I check. I only have my wallet. My phones are gone, etc. So I didn't really know what happened. When we get home, I'm smiling because it was a hectic situation, but I look back at it now because my parents sat down with me and they said, Jibraan, what's going on? What's going on with you? And that's when I was like, let me just say it. So I asked, I said, am I adopted? That day, my mom cried. My dad literally had no words. And my mom said the most amazing thing to me. And she said, just because I didn't birth you doesn't mean you're not my child. And for the stories that I know that I was adopted at 2 months old. Like I said, the attitude that my father had to accept me as his own, my brother, my sister, my family, my mother, man, my heart goes out to her, honestly. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And I said, okay, I need to change up. It didn't mean that I changed instantly. It took time, years. Literally, I feel like I've been growing since, and that's growth. We're evolving, we're changing. Growing to a better you is still a journey and it's constant. But the only thing that is constant, which is such an oxymoron, is change. Change is so consistent. It does sound funny, but it honestly is. Things change all the time, and that's the consistency that it has. You want to grow? Change. You want to learn? Change. So that happened. Anyways, life continued. Things got better, yes. Then I managed to get my first car. Got this car, made an accident with it. It was so hectic because I was with my brother. Such a story, man. So imagine life changes. I'm going through good changes. I get a car. I make an accident. How did I make this accident? You never know your own strength. I was at a party, yes, under the influence. Yes, I was drinking. I was having a good time. But yeah, attitude happened. Inhibitions changed. My anger shot out and started fighting with guys. It was so hectic that my brother and I got into a fight. Now the crazy thing is, excuse me. The crazy thing is, when my brother and I got into this fight, he was actually backing me up to say, look, what's happened? Let's go sort this out. My brother and I fought where, yes, I ended up knocking him out, but in a bad way because we fell on each other. He hit his head on a rock, and I jumped into the car and we rushing him to hospital. As we were going to the hospital, I make an accident, flip the car, I fly out of this vehicle. People that were behind us now see me flying out of this vehicle. They think, okay, Jibraan is gone, obviously. I wake up, I don't know, 9 lives or something. Like out of a movie, literally, when I was listening to these stories. Adrenaline pumping, you know how people and community rush to come and help. I'm fighting, pushing people, crying out, where's my brother, etc. Got so bad, apparently they had to choke me out to pass out so I could, get to the hospital, of course. But I didn't know that I was knocked out for that long because they had already taken my brother out of the car and were rushing him to the hospital. Hectic. We get to this hospital. All I see is my brother being rolled out on a stretcher, covered with white material. I said, what have I done? First thing that came into my mind is my brother's daughter's family. What will family think? What have I done? Like, it was so hectic. He was pronounced, I think because I called in panic and I called my dad and I was like, I don't know what I've done. My brother has died, etc., etc. News started flying. It was horrible. And I think I only went for my scans later because I just wanted to make sure he was okay. So my internals, or I should say my torso, was badly injured and ripped up. Obviously that affected work again. I was such in a bad place, I just said I can't do this anymore. I stopped working. So when I explained how I went into the freight industry, I left that company and I started working for my brother-in-law, who I mentioned in episode 1 of my character building. So again, episode 1 sounded like, okay, this guy has learned so much conditioning. But no, there's bad that's happened in my life as well. It's like pros and cons, balance of good and bad, yin and yang, whichever you want to see it. But there has to be some sort of balance. I think it keeps us grounded, to be honest. And when I started working for Khalid Bar, excellent time of my life. I learned about nature. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat because it's quite an emotional one. I'm literally trying to hold it together because I'm thinking about everything that I've been through, and there's so much worse, but I'm just giving the main ones that attribute to how you can recover from things that are bad. So I get to working with them, went into farming, fell in love with nature, fell in love with different ways of doing business, meeting people, being humble, the wisdom that he shared, etc. And that was life, all right? I then speak to my previous boss, who I was working with for so many years, and we reach a point of him saying, look, do you ever want to come back, etc., etc. So this is now catching up. We're at 2019. And I said, okay, I'm keen. I need to speak to Khalid and them, whatnot. And yeah, it was hectic times. Obviously, there was value seen on this side. I left, unfortunately, and still till today, we're in very good books. But maybe at the time it was a bit touchy. I'm not sure, because they invested in me as well. And sometimes when you're closing a chapter, it's very difficult to let go. You grieve it a lot as well. For me, it was coming out of a different norm and going to something that I knew, but it was new. Life had changed, I'd matured, etc. You won't believe that as I was going into this new job, something amazing has happened for me. I'm thinking I'm going back into the field that I love, because when I was working with Khalid and them, it was one structure because of their company, for example, right? In freight forwarding, you're dealing with so many different elements, so many different stakeholders, so many different clients. And that's why I love freight. I get this new job. During that time, there was loss and everything happening. My father had moved to Lilongwe as well with my mom. He was working, etc. And yeah, as I was going home, coming from a funeral, this was during fasting month. As I did mention, I'm Muslim, and if I didn't mention it, my faith is Islam. I know I did say I won't speak about religion. I think I will probably touch on it. I did lie about that. I'm so sorry. Not only that did I lie, I didn't have intention for it, but I just want to say that it's part of my character and who I am. It's what I believe in. And if you have a greater force that you believe in as well, I totally respect that. I feel that we're all in nature human first. We're all the same. We all have different beliefs. And I think the best thing is just to stand on respecting other people as well. So, coming from a funeral, fasting month, I'm driving into my yard and I'm held at gunpoint. So I say to the robbers to say there's people behind, trying to say like, this isn't going to work, like there's people coming, etc. I just thought, okay, fine. I prayed. Why I prayed? I knew I was alone. I prayed that they don't injure my guards or anything. Again, human. They go through my house and literally everything gone, man. Like things that my parents have worked hard for, things that my family had, and I was looking after our family house here in Blantyre, and all I could do was like question why. Like I'm trying to be such a good person. I'm in the month where I'm repenting, I'm trying to be good, and this is happening to me. Why do I deserve this? And yeah, I just prayed and prayed and prayed that day. I was tied up, hands behind my back, literally just looking at the guards, seeing these guys, and I was just like, there's nothing I can do, So that's it. I left it. I said, I'm not going to fight. I'm not, like, material things don't matter. After that, I went to Lilongwe. We prayed with my family. Amazing times, because that really opened up a lot for me. When I say opened up a lot, we all prayed together where my dad said what he was feeling. My mom, myself, my brother-in-law, my family. Just, it was so heartfelt that even in these trying times, these trials and tribulations, there was blessings to know that family was there. I was still alive to see another day. And I couldn't deal with the constant questions that were coming. So what happened? How did this happen? And this, it was so tiring where I went to go live with my cousin because I was just like, dude, I need someone that is my age that can understand me. I didn't feel safe. I felt like a coward. I felt like I lost everything, and I needed space to just relate to someone my age. And I ended up moving in with my cousin at the time, and it was really nice because we bonded. He understood where I was coming from. He's been a part of my life from a young age, and it just brought us closer. But my anxiety was through the roof. I felt really depressed, so it added in another layer of insecurities, and it was just tough. It was really tough. I recall at that time I didn't know what to do with life. COVID had just come in as well, so I was in a relationship at the time, so I didn't know what decisions to make. Am I settling in Malawi? And the thing is, I really did want to travel, and it was like a different sign again. So after all of this happened while I was living with my cousin, again back in the new job, I got a promotion with the job, and I said, okay, let me stick to this. But then I started partying more again, drinking, yeah. And when I say drinking, I'll explain why. Because I love it, I enjoyed it, and again, enjoy it, right? It's in the past, but you'll understand as I'm going. So life happened. Again, my folks were in Lilongwe, they moved back to Blantyre, we started living together. Life happened. Fast forward a few more years, trying to cope, trying to become a different person, etc. It was still hard. Now we were all living together, and there was a lot that was learned during that time. Unfortunately, what my mother went through before I left home. Yeah, so she suffered with chronic blood pressure for many, many years, and she ended up being diagnosed with vascular dementia because of strokes that affected her brain. And I say this cautiously because I love my mother so much, and I'm not trying to say anything bad, but it's changed our life. And it's tough to see the person and woman that she was to where she is now, but she's so strong. She has an amazing heart, and wow, man, like I said, like everything to my mom is everything to me. So fast forward to time, I'm still going through all of this. Then I went for therapy. Fast forward to my trials and tribulations. And why I'm saying these are the biggest impactful things that have happened in my life. My adoption, my accident, the theft. Then what happened to my mom was difficult because it leads up to where I am now and what my scope on life is, in a sense, and trying to understand and still learning and growing. So fast forward, we're in 2024. My parents had to then move back to Lilongwe because of treatment that my mother needed to get from that side. And obviously with age, etc., traveling back and forth between Blantyre and Lilongwe would just be too extensive on her, or exhausting, I should say. So that was the decision that came into play. It was tough. I got more promotions at work. I had my own place. It was good. Life was good because why I decided to move out was I needed to also grow, And the thing is, when we spoke about it as a family, I needed that growth to sort of guide me, and it's guided me to where I am now. It wasn't a selfish decision. It was for the betterment of myself as well. And I wanted them to be proud of me, to say, okay. And it wasn't like when I moved out, I wasn't easily accessible. I would go and still visit my folks. I'd still spend weekends by them with insane Blantyre. So it was different. At least I grew. I managed to get a few things of my own, etc., etc. But the way time went, in July 2024 is when I started speaking more to my father. And not saying that we never spoke, we've always spoken. And I literally told him, I said, Dad, I feel like maybe I've reached my cap. I need to have my own ownership. I need to do things, etc. And I think he felt that if I left work, it would also affect him as well, because maybe of my earnings, etc. We've always contributed, my siblings and I, and things like that. So when I decided to resign, the events that led up to August. Life? Yeah, so August the 1st, I resigned. I handed in my resignation. My first time buying a flight to Lilongwe, and I'm looking at this because I'm just looking at the timeline, and I always forget this. On the 3rd of August, I flew to Lilongwe. Something was just telling me, you need to go. And I was very adamant on this. Flew to Lilongwe, had a good night over with family. I returned back to Blantyre on the 4th. I got blessings from my father when I resigned. He said, look, you have something that you want to do, you feel it's bigger than you, and that's where your heart is, go for it. Now, when I said enjoyed alcohol, etc., I stopped drinking in January 2024. So many reasons for it. I got breathalyzed. It was the last money I had. I contribute at home. I've never felt so disappointed knowing that I couldn't fund my home. Why? Because of drinking. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to discourage people from drinking. This is my journey, right? So I'm just sharing. And I said, you know what? I don't ever want to feel like that. I'm not saying that I completely stopped because, again, I'm explaining January, right? 2024. We're in August. So, 10th of August. Yeah. 9th of August was the last day I spoke to my father. Bought him airtime because he loved calling his family and stuff. And I remember I had Airtel money and I was supposed to, I think, send Airtel money, but instead I ended up recharging the Airtel money on my phone. So I said, okay, let me send it out. And I was sending to people airtime, etc. I was like, hey, make calls. But I sent him a chunk to say, I know you love calling people, you know. It was like I was saying goodbye. And the 10th of August, the morning of, I got news that my dad had passed in his sleep. Man, it was tough. That was the hardest emotion I've ever felt in my life. So I had to get ready, face the emotion. People were calling, people were visiting, etc. I got ready, we went for burial. And I remember there was words that resonated so much that had I not been where I was able to do certain things, but I really wanted to be in Lilongwe. It made me realize that sometimes we don't have control of certain elements of life, that there's a certain purpose on why sometimes you're in different places. It was so tough that, yeah, it broke me. It broke me, and this grief has been hard to deal with. I'm growing around the grief, but it does not get easy. I'm managing it, but it still hasn't been easy. From August till October was tough. So August was difficult. September was difficult. October, I needed a break. I went on a trip. It was so fantastic. I had a breather. I managed to speak with my boys, with people, just mingle, network. It felt like myself again. But I realized the hangovers kill, man. So I'm Malawian and I'll say Masile. Oh, Masile means like hangovers, like feeling it from the day before. I was not productive. When I used to drink back then, when I was addicted to drinking, going out, I'd be out from Friday, sometimes even Thursday. Thursday I'd be out. Friday I'd pack a bag, not even come back home. I'd come back on a Sunday type of thing. I'll always make sure that I'm clean, looking the part, but it was hectic. So I used to drink Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'd still show up to work, etc. Sometimes you could tell if I was hanging, not, but I was still very productive. When I work, I work. But Monday, I would be suffering. Tuesday, partly recovering. Wednesday, I'm fresh. And then Friday, I'm doing the same thing again. I said, I can't be doing this anymore. And the older I got, like the hangovers, they knock you down, eh? No jokes. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking. Everyone to each is their own, honestly. But I'm just saying for me, so yeah, I drank in October. December came around, my birthday month, parties, whatnot, good vibes. So with the companies that I've opened, Osman Momentum 2020 is based on consulting, diverse consulting, different elements of services that is very professional based on my background, my freight forwarding. And cinematics is based on recreational stuff. So that's dealing with entrepreneurs that are trying to boost themselves, that are trying to seek guidance. And I feel like I've become an experienced expert where I've dealt with so many different people, different organizations where I know a lot, but I use my ideas and my creativity and tailor make it for different people. So in that we do events, decor. And the funny thing is, my mom used to be a decorator back in the day. She used to have a company called Occasions. And I used to see how amazing she used to feel after she delivered an event or decorated it to the specifications that a client had. And you know the nice thing about it? That smile. There's so much that happens that is so chaotic in decor or event management. But when you deliver and you have all the pieces to the puzzle, you can't satisfy everyone. Honestly, people, it's very hard to satisfy people. But the smile when people like going to my mom and saying, oh, thank you for doing this. I love that. I've been artistic, yes, for a number of years. So I had the chance to do a few events and I've been growing from that. So cinematics, aside from doing the decor, is networking. I call myself the networking architect. Just because if I had gone for tertiary studies, I wanted to become an architect or go into the field of industrial psychology. Now, if you think about my profession and passion, Osman Momentum, cinematics, that industrial psychology sort of comes into OM 2020. It's learning about different industries. And then my passion is in cinematics and recreational. So I've merged the two to be powered by each other and mesh. The plans that I have, I think it's going to be an amazing journey. So what I'm trying to say is life will humble you in so many ways. And when I mentioned in episode 1 why losing my father made me become a man is, and this is what my brother said to me, man, and I love my brother so much. He said to me, that is the last man that will always wish you better than him. And I'll repeat this. That is the last man that will wish you to be better than him. And it makes me fall back on so many thoughts. There were so many things that I learned from my father. And my father used to be a bit grumpy. Not even a bit. He had principles. He was very different. And he always used to tell me, oh, did you see this in the news? Hey, this. But, I've come home from a long day working and I'm just like, I just want to chill, dude, please. But if I could go back to have those moments and understand, I would. We had a good relationship. Don't get me wrong at all. I'm not saying anything bad. But he would ask me, did you see this in the news? Oh, did you see that car? Oh, did you notice this? Did you? And in my mind, I'm like, dude, do you think I'm that silly to not notice these things? But I never used to say it. That was what I would think, I'm just saying it out loud because I'm just trying to relay something, right? Now, my message is, after this grief, it was our father's love language to us. Maybe he didn't know how to express it, but his knack for telling me to be curious is what has literally shaped my life and my career. I've always gone the extra mile because I always ask the different questions. And that's how I've always gotten different clients or understood people or been able to connect. And it was thankfully because of him. Bad trait that I didn't like how he communicated, but such good digestion and something that I absorbed from him and I molded it into my own identity. So some things happen. Ask yourself to say, and I'm not saying that everything happens for a reason, no, because bad things do happen to good people. And sometimes we really don't deserve it, honestly. And it breaks my heart with some of the things I've been through. And this is not even everything that I'm sharing. I've had some bad moments, but I've used those weaknesses to become my strength. And that's where I am. So I'm not silly to say I'm adopted. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm still human first. I still love people the same. Did it hurt me? Did it break me? Yes. But it taught me much more. There's some people that would look and wish for what I had. There's some people I'll look at and wish for what they had. But what is the common ground? Contentment and counting blessings. Trying to do better for yourself and understand more of yourself to be better for others. My attacks, my accidents, my losses, I grieve those things. It still makes me reflect, but I'm not living too much in the past because I'm using what I've learned to go forward, what I've learned to help others, what I'm saying so that it can resonate. It's difficult. Believe me, it's the hardest thing. But what I will say, trials and tribulations shape you. Failures shape you. Mistakes shape you. People will have projections of themselves due to their own insecurities. Do not think that people aren't watching. Some people are, some people aren't. Do it for yourself. I'm not saying I'm telling you this to lead you astray and say, okay, Jibraan has the best advice. No, filter what you must. Take what you need to take out of it. Bad things happen, guys. It's so difficult, and we can't compare journeys or situations, unfortunately. Our day is numbered? I don't know. From the 1st of May, today is the 22nd. I'm still here, I'm still counting my blessings. I'm not perfect, I make mistakes all the time, but I try and reconcile. I try and stay humble. I try and apologize as much as I can, and I try and pray as much as I can. Mind, body, and soul, 100%. For me, my favorite number is 3. So, feed into your mind. Make it healthy. Exercise your body. Make it healthy. Feed your soul. Make it healthy. The better we are for ourselves, the better we are for literally everyone. So that's Trials and Tribulations, episode number 4. I'm probably going to reflect, journal, cry and cry and cry today. But I have no problem. I'm human. I can cry, feel the emotion, let it out and move on. Look at the next day, count the blessing. So in this, I'm going to add 2 links. 2 episodes that I've been watching that relate to me. Maybe it might resonate with you. But these podcasts, now that I'm doing these podcasts and things like that, they're very interesting. You can learn a lot. You can filter what you must. Muzipunzira. That means learning in Chichewa. So it's like seeking knowledge. You can only do better because you learn from others. I've always said in life, keep yourself in the middle. There will always be people above you that you can learn from. People beneath you that you can teach. And you keeping middle ground will keep you sane on that journey as you're climbing up. Don't lose track of being human first. Literally, spread love. And literally, me being here. Remember, love and light. Light, everyone can see your potential. Don't be exploited. Be real. Negotiate. No deal is better than a bad deal. We learn, sometimes we have to learn the hard way. So even if the bad that's happening to you seems so bad, when you're reflecting on the past, think of the bad things that you've gone through and how you've managed to still surpass it and be better. That's my advice to you. You might have heard it similar from someone else. But it makes sense. I made mistakes. I'm not perfect. Even in public speaking, I can make the best speech. I'll slur. Maybe I might not make the best impact or delivery, but I will try. Did you hear that? That was the leather. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying What's What Pod by JGO, and I thank you. And literally, this is a tribute to my father, a legacy for myself, and these final point, yeah, these things that happen when we say, if you remember the letter that I read about Dear One, we constantly look at weight on our shoulders, and we probably have heritage that we should be proud of. Remember your tribe. I have so much from my community, my tribe, my people, that I don't look at it as weight on my shoulders to try and compete with that. I look at it as strength and shoulders to stand on, to elevate myself as well. So I'm from the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. I love my people. I love this place. And I'm sending you love. Literally love and light. Cheers.